All right. And I'm going to be talking a little bit to you today about something I think a lot of people overlook. There's this little metal box here. And sometimes people pick it up and they turn it over in their hands and they go, yeah, like, where do I even begin? I just can't even. How do I even camera? What is involved in this? Whereas other people in the room are like, oh, it's simple, right? You just press a button and then video happens, right? That's all there is to it. The reality is slightly more complex, and that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today and giving you a crash course in videography. Who here would describe themselves as a technician or an engineer? Show of hands. Most of you, as I thought. Who would say they are comfortable with cameras? Yeah? Who would say they are skilled with cameras? Masterful? Ooh, no one wants to claim masterful. All right. So my name is Eliot Miller. I've been involved in video from my teenage years. I worked at a film school in Canada, and then I also did my own short videos. You guys all right over there? Yeah. So I did my own short videos at university. I kept it up with various other projects, helped the BBC do a live streaming event at my university, which involved setting up my entire desktop computer in the university kitchen. That was an interesting event. I started doing video interviews at kind of nerdy events like Comic-Con and Gamescom. And then I started running my own live streaming events, so video game tournaments, which were being remotely live streamed from the spectator client watching the game. And now I finally made it to San Francisco, and I work for the live video streaming provider Demuxed, principally as their video content creator. So I'm making a lot of tutorial videos on different encoders at the moment. I've been in San Francisco a couple of months now, and I've been coming to the SF Video Meetup. And there's something I've noticed from meeting a lot of you. Y'all could learn a thing or two about cameras. The first thing many of your clients have to deal with is not your UI, it's not your encoder, it's a camera. This is their direct link through you to the content that they are going to create. And I feel that while many of you are masters of the digital space, some of the physical techniques of cinematography that have been mastered since the early days of cinema at the beginning of the 20th century have been overlooked. And so I want to bring them to the foreground to you today. First of all, we're going to talk about composition and how we can correctly proportion the subjects that our cameras are looking at. Whoops. There's a preview. That's confusing. Light. Light is the really big one between professional and amateur video. Through light, we can take amateur video camera work and make it look professional. Then I'll be moving on to some cool tricks you can do with tripods. Yes, there are cool things you can do with tripods, and I'll be showing you them later. And finally, we'll wrap up with a brief review. So let's get into it. Composition is the arrangement of subjects in the eye of the camera. Correctly proportioning this is the first step to getting video content to look amazing. And the best way to show you how important this is by showing you a really bad example. I mean a terrible example. And it's one I'm in. This is from my time at the video school in Canada. The students who were running this short video project had this idea that one of their friends had taken the wrong kind of medication and was having a hallucination where he believed he was his video game persona, Noobpona69. That is a name I will never forget. I had the opportunity to play said Noobpona69 in their video, decked out in wonderful tinfoil armor the students made me. This is a little 20-second clip from the climactic battle where William is forced to shake Billy out of his hallucination by meeting him in what they believe is combat. Where's the cursor? There we go. That sound was us breaking the spatula we took from the kitchen and didn't tell the cook about. We buried that spatula and never spoke of it again. Okay, there are a lot of things wrong with this video. Right? The video quality is terrible. The sound is poor. We have a lot of overexposure. The intensity of the light varies dramatically. There are poor cuts. There are poor audio cuts. But we're just going to focus on composition and how we can improve that. In cinematography and photography, there is a technique called the rule of thirds. This says that the screen should be split into 3 vertical thirds and 3 horizontal thirds. And this can give the correct proportioning of the subjects we're looking at. So have in mind this grid when you look at these next shots. Let's take a look at this first one with Billy charging into battle. He takes up a tiny amount of the screen. Here is our brave warrior charging into battle, completely delusional, and we can barely see him. There is all of this dead space down here, which is showing us nothing. There is all this space to the left and to the right of us, showing us nothing. It's empty. A better way to frame this shot would to have Billy here in the right third, in the center, and to run until he completely filled the whole left third of the screen. That would be a better way to frame this shot. Moving on, this is me here squatting under the blow. This was actually the teacher of the course, Dale, is swinging at me in his duct tape armor, not as nice as my tinfoil armor. Again, about a quarter of the whole screen above my head is completely empty, and it's showing us nothing. And there's far too much space behind Dale here, behind him and above his head. He should completely fill the whole left third. But what's really bad about this shot is the focus of it is the blow, the stick he's swinging towards my head, the club. That should really be the center of what we're looking at, the focus point, and should take up a much larger portion of the screen. In this next shot, where Billy's feeble attack with a spatula is really happening, again we have same problems. Large area of overexposed light on the far left side, too much space here on the right side. And the joke the boys were going for in this clip of the video is that Billy's attack is just tapping Will with a spatula. And we can't see that. We're looking at his back. This shot should at least be rotated through 90 degrees. And again, the taller boy here should fill up 1/3, and the smaller boy should take up a much larger third. So let's look at a better example. This is an interview-style shot from a tutorial video I made for the cast about the rule of thirds and correct composition. If I apply the rule of thirds grids, you can see how much better this shot is framed. We have our 2 vertical lines and our 2 horizontal lines. Where they intersect at the top horizontal are exactly where mine and my colleague's Paul's eyes are. And we're looking down that horizontal third at each other. Not only that, but the 2 bottom intersections are where our hands are going to come up when we're talking to each other. Often we want these intersections to be the focus points of our video, people's eyes and people's hands. But note one more thing. You can't see our wrists. You never want just phantom joints on the edge of your shot. Joints infer movement. We know what's at the other end of a knee or the other end of a wrist. So either show the complete hand or don't show the joint at all. It's really confusing if you can just see a little bit of movement at the edge of the screen. Now, as a perfectionist, I will admit there is just the right amount of space above Paul's head on the left here and to the side of him. But there is slightly too much space above my head on the right and to the right side of me. I've got just a sliver of dead space down the right side here. I'll admit that was a slight problem I made with that shot. So we can see here how by using the rule of thirds, we can improve the video quality of the content that is being created. And we can take that even further by adding depth. Once we start to apply the rule of thirds in three-dimensional space, that is when we truly begin to become cinematic masters. And there is no better example of this than Wes Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel. In this movie, Wes used a square format instead of the usual cinematic widescreen to emphasize that every single shot rigidly obeys the rule of thirds. Have you already seen the two vertical lines, not vertical horizontals? We've got the two pillars here, mark the two vertical thirds. Our lobby boy on the right nicely fills the right third. And the top horizontal third just cuts between his head and the concierge sign. If the concierge sign was not there, there would be too much dead space above his head. But the sign nicely fills in the top third. And all of this wonderfully frames Ralph Fiennes, who's in the perfect center square, who himself is given depth by the wall of keys behind him. Let's look at another example from the same movie. You know, I think a lot of people I've met when coaching them on video, they have this idea that what you're looking at should be in the center. And this is a wonderful example of that not being the case. We've got all of our principal characters here in the far left third. And again, the vertical thirds are marked by the top bar lights on the screen. What's really wonderful about this shot is that Ralph Fiennes is standing on a chair with his arm outreached. Imagine if he wasn't there. There would be too much dead space above the lobby boy's head. But by putting Ralph on a chair and having his up, they fill the whole left third. But the other two thirds are not left empty. They're given depth by the wall going back behind them, and objects give texture and make the hotel look like it's in use. Now, this is a really wonderful shot. In every third, we have one of our principal characters. But the line created by their heads forms a perfectly proportioned diagonal line, a diagonal third cutting across the frame. But not only is this in the flat two-dimensional space of the image, in our minds we can read it as a correctly proportioned third going to the far back corner in three-dimensional space. Now, I'm sure many of you know a lens from a camera can flatten the images and make these actors appear closer to each other than they actually are. But in our minds and in the eye of the camera, it is a perfect third in two-dimensional space and in diagonal space. Now, this I love. You could not get a clearer representation of the rule of thirds. The center third is completely filled by this red carpet, but is given just a little bit of the white tiles coming through to mark the two vertical lines. In our right and left third, we have another red carpet. And their borders roughly mark the horizontal thirds cutting across the screen. To give depth, we've got characters in the bottom left corner and in the top right. And for motion, we have our lobby boy walking from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen. What is truly brilliant about this is that if I were to take this top-down view and rotate it through 90 degrees, so we're looking at the lobby boy's back, it would still perfectly obey the rule of thirds. We would have these characters in the bottom left here in the foreground, filling up the left third, and we'd have this other staff member in the right third in the background. And the shot would still have depth, and it would still obey the rule of thirds. This is a perfect example of the rule of thirds applied in two-dimensional and three-dimensional space. Now, I'm sure all this sounds very cinematic to you. But I'm also sure that, working in the live video industry, many of you have seen the absolute classic of the live streaming world, man sitting in front of web camera with a plain white wall behind him. Often, they don't even fill the whole shot. Even with a close-up of just a person talking to a camera, the rule of thirds can still be applied. And the shot can be given depth by having a bit of plant behind them, or just any kind of texture and depth. By applying these rules, we can take simple home live video streaming and make it look much, much better. So it's always important to abide by these rules. All right, now we're going on to the next step, light. As I said before, light is the difference between professional and amateur quality video. And there are simple techniques we can use to really enhance our video content. There is a technique called three-point lighting. And by using this technique and applying it to video or photography, you can dramatically improve the quality of the video you're looking at. It's quite a simple technique. Our principal light is the key light. This illuminates the subject that we are looking at, such as a person's face. Secondary to that is the fill light. The goal of the fill light is to not match the key light. It's got to be softer, broader, and it is often only reflected onto the subject. If you've ever seen a photography shoot where they have these lights pointing away to an umbrella that look really weird, that's a fill light. We're reflecting light onto the source just to soften the shadows. Otherwise, we'd have a stark film noir look. And then third, we have the backlight. The backlight should always be shining at an oblique angle to just enhance the edges of our subject. What this does is it cuts the shadows naturally forming on the person away from the background so they stand out proud and embossed. It's a very simple technique, and I'm going to show you how applying it, we can take relatively grainy footage and improve it dramatically. But before we move on, take note that no light is shining on the camera. You should never have a camera facing a light source. I've often seen people with years of experience in the industry set up a video to do an interview with the windows open. And they've got all this bountiful California sunshine shining on the camera. So note that none of these lights are shining on the camera. So this is a very simple tutorial. It's from a YouTube video. I took a series of stills, so I apologize for the slight graininess of the quality. But there's a wonderful example of three-point lighting applied in stages. Here we have a man looking at his laptop, only illuminated by the lamp on his desk. It doesn't look very good. But by adding a key light, we can dramatically improve the quality of the video. Next, we'll add the fill light. And you can see how this has the effect of just softening the shadows on the side of him. Notice they're not removed. The objective of the fill light is to not completely illuminate the subject. They don't look very flat. We like shadows. They give depth and shape to what we're looking at. If the goal of the key light is to illuminate the subject, the goal of the fill light is to turn down the shadows. Now in this next shot, they turn down the fill light to really enhance the backlight. You can see it just around the edge of his ear and coming down his neck and across his shoulder. Notice how this takes the naturally forming shadow right here and cuts it away from the background. He's not just bleeding into a vague gray space behind him. He stands out proud and embossed. Finally, as an addition to three-point lighting, they added one more light. A background light, which is kind of difficult to see in this image, on the far left side on the curtain, just to give a bit of color and depth. So this is where we started with one desk lamp. With three-point lighting and a background light, this is where we've ended. Look at the dramatic improvement in the quality of our video. And nothing about the camera has changed. All we have done is applied the technique of three-point lighting. Now, I know it can be hard to encourage people to invest in one light, let alone three. But there are inexpensive ways to get around this. Clamp lights are used for construction sites and can be bought from any hardware store. They only cost about $10, $12. They come with a versatile clamp, a reflective cone, and you can put in whatever bulb of brightness you want. To soften the strength of the light, you can use wax paper or baking paper and tape it over the front to create a diffusion effect. Alternatively, if you have the bountiful sunshine of California, you can buy a reflector dish from Amazon for about $20. These have a kind of spring-loaded metal wire, so they collapse down and then pop. You're ready to shoot, and you can reflect natural sunlight onto the subject that you're looking at. Of course, you will need a second pair of hands to help you do this. The most important thing with light is to have only one source. Indoor light is quite yellow and is much, doesn't have the same intensity as natural sunshine, which is much brighter, warmer, and bluer. If you have both these light sources in one shot, they really kind of confuse the camera. If you've ever been on Skype with someone who's sitting in front of a window and then they move slightly and everything turns blue, that's why. So whatever you're doing with your light, at least make sure it only comes from one source. If you're doing it inside, close all the curtains. If you're doing it outside, well, it's probably not a problem in California. OK. We've covered composition, the rule of thirds, and correct proportioning, and as well as depth and how that can enhance our video quality. We've looked at three-point lighting. Now let's look at some cool tricks we can do with tripods. Now, first thing with tripods and cameras is you want to make sure it's level. A lot of cameras now will have like an altimeter, like on a plane on the display, that will show you if the camera is level or not. And even inexpensive tripods like this one have a spirit level bubble to show if the camera is level. And we can adjust the legs as necessary for that. If you have some of the more expensive tripods that we have at the back here, they have a center shaft that you can release and adjust the balance of the camera without having to adjust the legs. So once we've done that, we can start to apply some cool tricks. Panning shots are always a trouble. If I move the camera from left to right, you can hear it grinding, and it always jutters a little bit. But there is a little technique we can use to get around this. And I've just realized it's not in my pocket. So does anyone have a rubber band? No rubber bands? OK.
Yes, I do.
You do? OK, we will come back to the rubber band trick in just a minute then. First, we'll look at crane shots. Crane shots are kind of fun. And we can simply do them by adjusting one leg on the tripod. Whenever you're adjusting a tripod, always bring all the legs together. It will literally save you minutes of your life when adjusting the legs. And I like to always start from the top and work my way down. Thank you. Great. So now we've got just two legs extended. And if I place a foot on either side, we can create quite a nice crane effect for a nice dramatic zoom in on our subject, or a pullback, kind of like when news anchor shows start. On hardwood surfaces, they will slip when you try and move back, though, so make sure you've got some blocks or someone's hands to help you hold it in place. Now let me show you the panning shot real quickly. Whoops. OK. So the panning trick with the rubber band is actually quite difficult to do. You've got to, the idea is we're taking the tension out of our hand, and instead we're putting it into the rubber band. So if I keep, just released it, keep this loose, it's still always, this is hard. This is quite tricky to do. You've got to keep like a high enough speed. The idea is that you take all of the tension out of your hand and put it into the rubber band. You kind of need a thicker rubber band than this kind. And then you can have a much smoother pan. So that's the simple rubber band trick. Now for moving shots, you can spend thousands of dollars on a Steadicam mount if you want. They are quite expensive. You can have all gyroscopic Hujima flips that I don't even understand. But it is quite simple if you just pull in all of the legs. Then you can mount it on your hip like this. Whoops. Now by holding on to the handles, I can have quite a nice, steady walkabout shot without too much difficulty. The problem with moving shots is that all of the weight is up here in the camera. And that's where the center of gravity is. But we can pull the center of gravity down away from the camera by adding a weight to the bottom. And you can see this $20 tripod from Amazon has a hook for that very purpose, for hanging a weight off the bottom. Now, who here knows what a dolly shot is? Or a dolly rig? Yeah, most people. You know, it's kind of, they look really cool. It's like a camera mounted on a carriage on train tracks that can roll back. It creates a nice fluid moving shot, and most people don't have train tracks to do something like that. But again, there are inexpensive ways to get around that problem. And for the low price of $5, you can achieve the effect with furniture pads. These are little feet that go under the feet of tables or sofas and allow you to move them over hard surfaces much more easily. Simply put one under the feet of each of your tripod, and you can glide over any hardwood or tiled surfaces as if you had wheels on the bottom. If you want to splash out a little bit more, for about $30, you can buy a rig like this on Amazon, which is a set of wheels that you can clamp to the bottom of a tripod and get moving shots that way. All right, we've covered quite a lot in this talk. Talked about rule of thirds and correct proportioning. We've talked about three-point lighting and how that can take amateur video and dramatically improve it. And we've also looked at some really cool stuff you can do with the underrated tripod. But my dad always taught me that the best way to learn something was to do it yourself. So, if I could have the help of 2 volunteers, and in 3 minutes, we will make an epic trailer for Demuxed, which I will edit together and present to you at the lightning talks. Who here would like to volunteer as a cameraman or woman? Ooh! You're going to join? All right, ladies and gentlemen, the organizer, Matt, is going to be our cameraman. We need one more person. We need someone to be the star of our trailer. We need someone to be an actor. It's OK. You don't have to do anything. I will just tell you what to do. Is anyone willing to be our subject? Wow. Tough crowd. Yeah? Who wants to do it more? All right. What's your name, mate? John? Hi, I'm Eliot. Everyone give it up for John. All right. So, Matt, what I'd like you to do is take this tripod over to the far side. I'm going to turn on a light for you. And John, what you're going to do is you're going to stand here. And we're going to go through a series of shots and compile a bit of video. So the on button is on. No, it's OK, stand there. Just here's the on button. Great. And then just press the red button to start recording.
Now?
Not, well, if you want to. And see, check that it's level. See the green line? Mm-hmm. Great. OK, so what you're going to do is when I say go, is you're going to frame a wonderful shot of here of John looking dramatic. That's good. That's really good. You know how to look dramatic. And you're going to, so Matt, you're going to have to come closer. Not yet, but you will. Get a nice rule of thirds shot, close up of John's face, and you're going to turn and go, welcome to Demuxed.
Welcome to Demuxed.
Oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. OK. Let's see if we can get this started. Matt, are you ready?
Yes.
John, are you ready?
Yes.
Audience, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, let's do this. Whoops, nope. How do you play?
Press the space bar.
Nope, it's not spacebar. There's like no mouse.
It's on the screen here.
Great, I just ruined everything. Thank you, Paul. I am not a Mac user. OK, let's just put it down to that. Really, PowerPoint? Really? And now PowerPoint is crass. Fantastic. OK, so I'll run you through the series of shots we're going to do. We're going to do a nice close-up of John, who's going to turn and look dramatic and epic for us. Then we're going to get a panning shot of the crowd. Then we're going to set up an interview-style shot, again with the rule of thirds, so me in the right third, John in the left third, or whichever way we're standing. And then you're going to do a Steadicam shot, so pull up all the legs. I'm going to do a quick run round, get a Steadicam shot, and then we'll end with our big finish. All right? Have we got it back? Can we play music? All right. Come on, John, you've got to get in the mood. You've got to look epic. Matt, come in, get the shot you want. Are you recording?
Yes.
Are you recording? Okay, so nicely framed up. Good, good. You've got too much outdoor light. See the blue outdoor light coming in. John, come a little bit closer. Come a little bit closer. That's looking good. Okay, put the tripod down. And you're going to have to winch it up. Get the little... Come on, you've only got 3 minutes to do this. You've only got 3 minutes to do this. Wind it up, wind it up, wind it up, wind it up. Okay, good. John, are you ready? Turn and say, welcome to Demuxed.
Welcome to Demuxed.
Good. All right, okay, winch that down. John, you can take a breather for a minute. We are going to do a panning shot, okay?
Okay.
So get this to the right height of the audience. You might want to turn the camera to face the audience so you can see where they're appearing in the shot. You've got the grid on there for a rule of thirds. So start on the right side. Okay, and we're going to do a panning shot all the way across. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Man Demuxed! All right, it's looking good. John, let's come over here. Matt, you're going to shut up an interview-style shot of the two of us. Do you know what you say in movies when you want to look like you're talking, you're not actually talking? You say rhubarb and apple crumble. Rhubarb and apple crumble. Rhubarb and apple crumble. Apple crumble.
Apple crumble.
Rhubarb.
But with some cream?
Ooh, I don't know about that. That sounds a little bit
rhubarb.
juicy. All right,
Apple rhubarb.
that's the halfway point. Let's do a runaround shot with a steady cam. Pull up all the legs together. Come on, you got to do this quick. Remember what I said, start from the top. If you start from the top, you don't have to be reaching down to the bottom of the legs all the time. You can undo all of the legs and then clip them all together, right?
That sounds hard.
Right, and now do the whole bottom ring. Just click, 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 click. 1, 2, 3. Good, good, good. Now put just hand on the bottom and push them all in. There you go. He's getting it. He's getting it. And now clip it all together. Okay, let's do a steady cam shot of just like walking through here with me. Press it into your hip. Hold it close. Hey guys, look. It's a cameraman. Woo! Let's come on, bring it around here, showing off the wonderful people at Crunchyroll who are hosting Demuxed. Give it up for Crunchyroll, ladies and gentlemen. All right, John, I want you to come over here now. We're running out of time. I want you to extend the back 2 legs, just the back 2 legs. John, you're like 4, right? You've just like landed here. And you're gonna look up into the camera and say, welcome to Demuxed in your wonderful epic voice, okay? So adopt your pose. No, just stand down there. Okay, great. Come on, come on, come on. What you're going to do is you're going to do a crane shot. So open the legs together. And pan down, look up and say your line right now, John.
Welcome to Demuxed.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Matt. Give it up for John. I've been Eliot Miller, and this is How to Even Camera. Thank you very much.